Welcome to The Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on The Kindness Project, we talk about living in the moment, Philosophy Weekly, and we have part one of our interview with Jayneen Sanders. Welcome to The Kindness Project. I'm joined by a man who is still using his Pigskin Blankets mug, even though it's just gone Easter. It's Chris Dames.
This is a mug for all seasons.
The pig on it is wearing a winter coat.
And I'm joined by a girl who is living in the moment. It's Charlotte Dames. How you doing, Charlotte?
I'm doing good.
Good. So talk to me about living in the moment then, because I quite like that concept.
Because I'm trying to take less and less pictures of things because, if you take pictures of things, you're going to miss it happening in real life. And at the moment, my phone is dead because I broke my last charger. So I've been without a phone since yesterday, and it's not that bad.
No, you know, you get used to it, don't you?
Yeah, I haven't had a phone for at least 24 hours now, so
yeah.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, and I think that concept of living in the moment and just being in a situation where you experience what's around you as opposed to just experiencing it through a screen. I mean, I enjoy taking photos.
Yeah, so do I.
Sometimes you've just got to put your phone down and look at it, experience it. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We're joined again by our esteemed producer, the man who is clear on what he's dunking his tea and not. It's Russell Dames. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. And talk to us about what you think about living in the moment.
Yeah, well, I'm living in the moment.
Okay. Yeah. That's insightful. Cheers, mate. Can you tell us where people can get in touch with us?
Righto. So at Twitter we are at All of Kindness. Facebook, if you just put The Kindness Project in the search bar, we should come up. We have a website which is www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, and we have an email which is ola@thekindnessproject.co.uk. We also have an Instagram, but I couldn't tell you how to get to it without my phone, and that's dead. So
exactly, because you're living in the moment.
Living in the moment.
We don't need to view everything through an Insta filter, do we? You know,
I don't like filters. They're too fake and plastic. And
I don't want a bit of photo editing, but filters are plastic, aren't they?
I saw this video on photo editing and how they use it in magazines, and there was a thing where it showed the before and after the editing, and that isn't real beauty.
Yeah,
that's all
like the airbrushing.
Yeah, and they change the colour and they and they whitewash a lot of stuff. It's like
yeah.
That's not beauty. That's just plastic.
Yeah, well,
code.
Beauty is more natural, isn't it? You know, beauty is more. You know, the real beauty comes from loving both the beauty and the flaws and imperfections of everything. You know, because we're all flawed and imperfect in our own unique ways, aren't we?
Yes, that's. You're just trying to be deep now, aren't you?
I'm not trying to be deep at all. I just think that, you know, if we had a reduced perception of what perfect looks like, it'd be better for all of us.
Welcome to Philosophy Weekly.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, we do the odd bit of philosophy on the Kindness Project, don't we? So, but I think if we were kinder to ourselves every now and again. And I think sometimes the challenge with doing that is we're not kind to ourselves because we compare ourselves to unrealistic alternatives, don't we?
Yep.
Welcome to the Kindness Project Philosophy Edition. The question of this week's podcast is one of our most philosophical. It's one of our most pertinent. It's one of our actually potentially most controversial questions.
Put that back.
That's my coffee. I'm just about to drink it. And it's number 3 on my list of questions here. And I'm going to get Charlotte to tell you what it is.
Okay. You guys ready for this? I'm really excited for this question. Pirates or ninjas?
Now, I think there's only one answer to this.
Pirates, obviously.
I think pirates.
I think
What
pirates.
do you think, Mouse?
Yeah, I'll go with pirates.
You'll go with pirates. I think actually we're not going to get that many answers saying ninjas. I mean, ninjas are cool, aren't they?
Yeah.
You don't see many normal ninjas, though, do you?
I was into one of pirates. Normal.
Sorry, what have you got against ninjas?
You see turtle ninjas, but
They're quite
I
cool.
can't say I've ever
Okay.
seen a man dressed as a ninja.
Well, you know what's
I have.
interesting?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where have you seen a man dressed as a ninja?
Comic Con.
True, but there's probably men dressed as pirates there as well, right?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but what you don't see is many pirate or ninja superheroes, do you?
No.
No,
I want
it's
a
always
pirate.
secret spies or.
Yeah, but I mean, it's probably closer to ninjas. I think Hawkeye was a sort of Ronin at one point, wasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's all about
Pirates are cool though. They're like.
Why are they cool?
They developed from privateers. It was a fairly gender equal environment. A lot of them were gay, and they had bedtimes.
You're talking as if it was historic, though. There's still pirating going on.
Oh, I'm talking about like
So,
Elizabethan pirates and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think Somalian pirates are the ones that we think are particularly cool, to be honest.
No, I was talking about Elizabethan pirates.
I think our perception of pirates are probably what geezers with wooden legs and like sort of eye patches and all that sort of stuff.
I was thinking
And a parrot on there.
I don't agree.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't believe that a geezer with a wooden leg would be on a boat, swaying
He'd
side
wobble,
to side,
he'd
he'd be
wobble.
forever falling over.
That's true. That's true.
I was thinking more those people with the big black boots.
An official question of the podcast. What's your favourite pirate? It's all gone quiet on the Kindness Project.
That one out of the Goonies.
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
My favourite pirate is Pop-Up Pirate. You know that game where you stick swords in a
Oh,
barrel?
I love that game.
And you...
That's a bit of a cheat, though, isn't it? Ain't a proper pirate.
Sorry, of
What
course
are you
Pop-Up...
saying about Pop-Up
Well,
Pirate?
of course Pop-Up Pirate is a proper pirate.
No.
A plastic pirate is no better than a plastic person.
Okay.
That's
are we,
just...
Are we back to Instagram?
I don't know if this is going to be a debate about plastic surgery or artificial intelligence, and I don't know which would be worse.
I don't think Pop-Up Pirate was that intelligent, to be honest. All he did was pop up at random times. So I mean, I don't know whether that requires a decent amount of
Well, then
intelligence.
he couldn't have been artificial intelligence because humans cannot, in our heads, create perfect randomization.
Neither could Pop-Up Pirate. But it was,
No, he was a computer code. He could create
No,
perfect
I don't
randomization.
know how they randomised Pop-Up Pirate, but they managed to do it. So, what's your favourite ninja? It's got to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
See, I might be changing my mind on the podcast live.
I think the Ninja Turtles are the only turtles I've ever heard of.
The only turtles are the only ninjas.
The only ninjas I've ever
But
heard
the
of.
challenge, right, this is the challenge, right? So I'm thinking pirates are cooler. My favourite pirate is Pop-Up Pirate. And my favourite ninja than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're cooler than Pop-Up Pirate. So am I changing my mind to ninjas? I don't know. What do you think, listener? Let us know.
Listen, like there's only one when we know there isn't.
Yeah, we're doing all right. I mean,
We are doing all right.
we've got our esteemed producer here today. Talk to us about numbers, Russ, because I mean, clearly we're recording the podcast, so you've prepared for this, right?
When I checked this morning,
Yeah.
when Daddy asked, it was 77,215
Right. Okay.
all-time Daddy.
Oh, you know
around
what?
the world.
Can you do me a favour, listeners? Because I've got a thing about odd numbers. So 215 is clearly not a number we want to rest on.
And we had that discussion the other day about numbers, and I don't know if that was on the podcast or
What numbers?
about which numbers I liked and which orders, and
That is definitely a conversation for
That
another
was
time.
on the podcast.
see,
Yeah, okay, so remind me about that.
No,
'Cause we have a lot of
very
conversations.
long-winded.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Oh, yeah, no, we did have that conversation, didn't we? I enjoyed that.
You just sat and listened to me waffle.
So our current stats are 77,217 unique downloads. We can't end it there because it's on a
3,000 more.
Yeah, we will actually, what we'd like to do, dear listener, and if you are enjoying the Kindness Project in any way, shape or form, tell a friend. But certainly we'd love
Tell
to get
1,000
to
friends.
tell 1,000 friends, tell everybody. We'd love to get up to 100,000 downloads within the next, I don't know, 4 days, 4 or 5 days. Is that too ambitious?
That's too ambitious.
By the end of the year, we won't.
No. We want next 4 or 5 days. So get to work.
Do you know the next 4 and 5 days for us is just over 2 weeks away?
Okay, get to work.
What's in the face?
I don't know. But no, if you can share the Kindness Project, that would be absolutely amazing. Before I lose my mind, shall we crack on with the show?
Let's do it.
So we've been doing a thing over the last couple of weeks, talking about how people during lockdown have decided to use lockdown as a thing to learn new skills, stay positive, and cope with what's going on in their lives. And I want to share the story of Susan Palmer, who during lockdown decided that skateboarding might be a lot of fun. She thinks it might have been a midlife crisis because Susan is 51, but she borrowed a longboard from a lad at work and then bought a longboard from a teenager on eBay. And she's been skateboarding around her village and using car parks to practice away from people, and has been really enjoying the experience. She says it's a very free feeling rolling along on the longboard, and the nicest thing when they see a 50-year-old woman approaching them on a skateboard. Everyone's been supportive. The first day she went to the skate park, she said there were some lads there, young men or teenagers, and I asked if they would film me on the board, and they were very nice about it. My children aged 10 and 12 don't think it's embarrassing. They think it's cool. Normally Susan's a cyclist, but she thought she'd do something different, and I love the fact that she just actively got involved in this new experience and lived in the moment. She didn't think, you know what, I genuinely think a lot of people hold themselves back in their lives by thinking, I'm to insert something here. And none of us are too old to skateboard, have we? If I want a skateboard, I could jump on a skateboard and do it.
There's one in the garden. Go and do it.
I'm not going to do it because I don't
Give
fancy
us a demonstration.
No, I mean, I did skip yesterday halfway through the.
Oh, but you do that all the time.
You did.
I do that all the time. So, what's the one thing that you'd like to take up post lockdown, Russ?
I'm doing a lot at the moment. I ain't got time to take anything new up.
Fair enough. Okay, and what's the thing you're most proud of doing during lockdown?
I'm most proud of. Well, we work together as well, don't we? So, I'm most proud of the way HMB's picking up now, and how quick we got that process in place to.
Yeah, it was good.
Run the event.
HMB, for all our Kindness Project listeners, is a Facebook group we run for my local business community in Havering in the East End of London. Not that you could tell we're in the East End of London if you heard the way that Charlotte pairs tea with toast. Tea with crumpets. She's tickling me again. You don't tickle somebody on a podcast. What are you most proud of doing over the last... You've started writing a lot of articles, Charlotte, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of love stuff, I'll do my one for this week. Give it another 3 days.
Leave to the last minute, why not?
I've been just kind of doing my thing, trying to get on, keep on carrying on.
Studying. Yeah.
Trying to bury myself under the weight of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. But what are you most proud of, do you think, over the past year?
I don't know.
No?
Nothing really.
Nothing? Are you joking? The girl who got 1 million GCSEs at A and absolutely stormed it and has started writing for a website. You should be proud of what you've done.
Okay.
Okay. Well, can I be proud on your behalf?
Sure.
Thanks. And on that note, let me talk to you as well about Andy Dixon, because Andy said my unusual lockdown project at the age of 55 was to take part in 2 ultra-distance journeys in the Lake District. As that's Andy's home, he was able to do it without breaking COVID restrictions. Now, Andy's never ever done an ultra journey before. But he did 2. The Frog Graham, which involved swimming and running 70 kilometres and then 15,000 feet of climbing, and then the Frog Wheaton, which is a swim cycle of 170 kilometres with 10,000 foot of climbing. It's only 20 minutes from my door, so he was the first person ever to complete what they call the double frog. So he trained for this in lockdown by swimming on his lawn because he couldn't get access to swimming pools, and completed the second journey on the 29th of September at 3 in the morning, pitch black, across Derwent water, more than 24 hours after I'd started. I think we went to Derwent water when we went to Lake District, didn't we?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, I did it partially because of he did it partially because of a diagnosis of osteoporosis in both knees, and he knew that if he didn't do it now, he'd never be able to do it ever. And it's probably the biggest achievement and adventure of his life. So, yeah, there are plenty of people doing amazing things in lockdown. And next week, we're going to kick off the segment talking about a man who used lockdown to invent games. High fives don't really work on a podcast, but we'll give it a go anyway. Should we crack on with the show?
Let's do it.
So this week we've got an amazing guest, a lady we interviewed quite a while ago now, a lady called Jayneen Sanders. She's an experienced author, publisher, elementary school teacher, mother of 3, and active advocate for body safety, gender equality and respectful relationship education. And during our interview we talk about all of those subjects. Would you like to listen?
Yes.
Hi Jayneen, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Really a real pleasure to have you on, and also just a massive thanks for you getting up ridiculously early this morning and joining us. It's what's the time where you are?
Oh, hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
You're welcome.
It's just after 7 a.m. in the morning down here in Australia.
Okay.
Melbourne, just outside of Melbourne.
Okay.
I usually like to sleep in a little more, but that's okay.
And you were telling me before we started doing the podcast that you've had a bit of rain.
We've had incredible amount of rain,
Okay.
which is just so odd.
Yeah.
Because this time of the year it's usually very dry. But yeah, great. It's been raining, which is fantastic.
You want it, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, it does. Our continent is very dry, very dry indeed.
It's funny.
So,
we're currently going through. We've had a bit of a storm here over the last couple of days. So as storms hit London, which is fine. Which we have sort of not as extreme weather as some countries, but often as slightly extreme. But I'm training for the London Marathon at the minute. I'm doing the London Marathon in April, and not great running weather. So I went out yesterday for a run, and on the way out it was great because I was giving a bit of a boost. I had a tailwind. Running back when there was a headwind wasn't the easiest job in the world, but it's all good fun. So our listeners can understand a little bit more about you. Can you tell us a little bit about you, life experience, and what you've done throughout your life and career?
Okay, well, let's see. I started out as a teacher, a primary school teacher in Queensland, which is a little bit a state north of where I am now.
Okay.
And as I said before the podcast started, I had travelled quite extensively, so that was great. And then in my sort of mid-20s, I decided, I was teaching in a very small country town, so I decided to move down to Melbourne to actually study photography.
Okay.
Somehow found myself in publishing. They wanted a teacher in educational publishing, so I got a job in publishing, and from there I became a publisher.
Okay.
Of maths books, actually, for primary school, which was all great. So then I met my partner. We decided to teach English in Japan, so we went there for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Our first daughter Jess was born there, and when we came back, I decided that I wanted to live in the country, and I didn't want to be working all the time. So we established our own sort of little publishing business so I could work from home. And so, it's all sort of gone from there.
And when was that?
Teaching. Oh, that's so long ago now. Let me think. That would have been about 1996.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
So some time ago. So, been publishing books. I actually do write children's readers under another name, J. Dale, and they're published in the UK by Raintree.
Okay.
It's called Engaged Literacy. So I've sort of been in the publishing industry and been in education for a long time. And I was also on my children's school council, and I decided that we needed to do more in the area of keeping children safe from sexual abuse. Not that I have been abused myself, but my neighbour had been abused as a young woman.
Okay.
And so I brought this up at school council saying, could we do more in the prevention space? And I called it body safety, and they ignored me.
Right. Do you think part of that's because it's one of those things that is
uncomfortable?
Is uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's that uncomfortable conversation, but it doesn't need to be. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And as an educator, I could see that, that, we could do age-appropriate, empowering education for children. And so when I came home from that school council meeting, I said to my partner, Mark, nobody's listening to me. I'm going to write a book, and then they might listen to me. And so then that sort of week, I wrote Some Secrets Should Never Be Kept, which was our first book in our own kind of
suite of books,
publishing sphere.
Yeah.
Because, and why we did publish it ourselves, Chris, was because no other publisher wanted to publish it.
Yeah.
And we had to go to 3 illustrators before we could find an illustrator to illustrate it. And it's written like a fairy tale. It's not graphic. It's just a little story that sends a very clear message.
Yeah.
So we decided to do it ourselves, and that's how our publishing company started. Our small publishing company, only 2 of us, Educate to Empower Publishing.
So that was born out of necessity more than anything else, wasn't it, Jayneen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy in education publishing, writing my readers and inventing other sorts of things, but I felt very strongly about this, that we weren't doing enough in this space. And since that book, so many survivors have said to me, if only they had known from that very first inappropriate touch it was wrong, their lives would be completely different. So
How do we
power of prevention?
How do we change the dialogue in that then? How do we make people embrace the awkward conversation to make sure our kids are safe?
Well, I think access to age-appropriate education, telling them that, putting their fears away, because it's actually the adult's fear. We talk about your body is your body, and no one can come inside your body boundary, and if anyone... we talk about private parts and name them properly, and if anyone touches you, this is what you do. It's very simple stuff, but it's really the parents and the educators who are frightened of this topic.
Stigma, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, we know from statistics that it can be as much as 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 8 boys.
Really? Is it that much?
Sexually abused before 18. Some say it's more, and 98% of them know their abuser. So, you know, prevention is the easy part. It's the empowering part.
Well, I think the other
change that conversation.
I think the other challenge you've got is you just don't know the scope of the issue because it's not talked about. So it's interesting you talk about the age appropriate communication, because I've I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix, but there's a documentary on Mr. Rogers, the American the American, and I didn't know who Mr. Rogers is before I saw this documentary. So and it's amazing because he had a very simple style, but seemed to manage to communicate. I mean, one of the subjects he covered off was the death to young kids. You know, kids of 4 or 5 years of age, and seemed to do it in a way that was that highlighted how to cope with the issue without making it too age inappropriate. And I think there's a fine. How do you write like that? How do you communicate like that? Because I'm not convinced that's something I could do.
Firstly, I'd like to say, sorry, Chris, but the first thing is that if it's no good putting it in the too hard basket, because you do your children no favours. Yeah. And in the case of body safety education, you actually put them at risk.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there who are your new best friend. They're always there to help out. And if your child doesn't know that kind of touch is wrong, they're unsafe touch, then you actually, by putting things in the too hard basket, you're putting them at risk.
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
What we need to do is, and I guess this is where my skill is, that I can write in a way that is a child's voice that they can relate to. So, we've all been children, and I'm just lucky I can tap into that.
Your inner child.
Child. Yeah. And write in a way that they understand. So recently, the book that probably is one that I am very proud of is called My Body, What I Say Goes.
Okay.
Now, that's written in a very easy style, easy to understand, and the children just get it. And the other thing about that book is we gifted that one to World Vision India.
Okay.
And they've translated it into 10 Indian languages, and they intend to print 1.5 million copies to give away to families.
Amazing.
And homes. And they've actually in-serviced 900 teachers to implement that book. And that book, My Body, What I Say Goes, has it's non-fiction, so it's kind of skill-based. Everything a kid needs to know, like a toolkit and for parents and educators to help them stay safe.
Okay.
So it's
love it. And again, it's access to knowledge that's probably not particularly widely available in some cultures, right? It's just like these conversations don't happen.
They do not happen.
Yeah.
They do not happen. So, being able to, by people now, we have a giving back page. So by people now, buying our books or whatever, the books I write, then we are able to give back to communities that would never be able to afford these books yet desperately need them.
Love it.
So, it's all a win-win, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And tell me a little bit more about the publishing company. So it's you and your husband. But
yes, my husband and I, and a young woman called Shanika who works a day a week with us, helping me with social media, because, that's how people get to know us.
Right.
Yeah. And I do all the writing and the teaching notes and all the free resources. We have a lot of free resources and posters, so even if people can't afford the books, there's lots of free stuff there. And my partner, Mark, does all the technical side and the, getting the books printed and inventory and all that kind of stuff that I really hate.
And do you specialise in educating kids about subjects that just aren't covered conventionally?
I specialise in areas that I feel I've got something to say.
Okay.
I feel that we're ignoring that space. So it started with body safety, and I feel that everyone was uncomfortable with that. So I'm like, well, I'm not, so I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
So that's that area. And then, it sort of morphs from there. So you talk about body safety. Okay, now you need to talk about consent and what's that mean? Body boundaries and respect. Okay, so now you need to talk about gender equality because, we know that domestic and family violence, gender inequality is the basis of that. And we know that 98% of the abusers are male. So we need to teach our young boys from a young age about consent and respect and seeing all genders as equal and humans as just humans. Yeah. So then that morphed into, what's that looks like. Okay, we need some empathy, we need kindness, we need all of those things. So for me, it's all part of one whole, and that's the space I want to write in because that's where I see the need.
And it's interesting because I think my perspective, and we talked before we'd start recording the podcast on kids, but my perspective certainly changed when Charlotte and then Sophie was born, and you look at their lives and go, I want you to be independent women who want to do whatever you want with your life, and you need to make sure that you've got the confidence to do that. And I think sometimes society isn't equal enough, isn't fair enough to women or girls.
Well, there was a survey done at a university, and they asked boys and men and women, what do you do to keep yourself safe? Now, the women wrote, I look in the car when I get in, I make sure I'm carrying my keys so they're poking out in case I need them. I always have my phone. I never go running after dark. I always go with a friend when I'm out walking in the park. And the men, they didn't think about it. There was nothing.
Yeah.
So there's the inequality. Women are always looking out, how am I safe? And I said this to my partner, and I know this is a little bit hard for some people to digest, but when a man sees a woman coming along the road, he'll probably go, oh, okay, who's that? And is she attractive, I guess, whatever. A woman sees a man coming along the road, and I have 3 daughters, they go, okay, am I safe?
Right, yeah.
Is this person going to whistle at me? Are they going to look at me? Are they going, do I have to avert my eyes? They're looking out for their safety. And is this a world we want to bring up our daughters and our sons, because our sons are missing out. With gender inequality, they got to man up. They can't. We want them to be nurturing, beautiful fathers. We want them to show their feelings, like kindness and empathy.
And not be afraid to do that, right? Not be afraid to turn around and go, you're still a man if you are empathetic and kind. And there's, what's interesting, we interviewed a guy called Nick Elston on the podcast. It came out a few weeks ago, and he talks about admitting weakness. He talks a lot. He speaks at events about anxiety and vulnerability. And part of the reason that he got to a point where he finds himself, his career is now talking about anxiety, is he got to a point in his life and his career where everybody was telling him to man up, and he just couldn't take it anymore. He needed to talk to somebody about it. And I just wonder how many men go through that process of assuming that you can't pretend you're struggling. I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it does them no favours. So that's why gender equality is so important as well, because if we teach from a young age, it's okay for our little boys to say, I feel really sad.
Yeah.
And this is, because of this. And we say, you go to the doll corner, you cook up a lovely meal. I mean, this is what we need our boys to do. It's okay for it to say, girls are empowered, and they are, and that's great. But we don't always want to be just a version of men.
Yeah.
We want to be women, and we want our men, and we want men to be men, and whatever. We want to redefine that word "man," which often has toxic connotations. Yeah. We want it to be, human, and this be a lot more empathy and kindness for both genders and all genders if everybody was thinking of us in terms of equal. So how we do that, I think we need to start from a very young age. We need to change the conversation. I just know when I was teaching young children, like very young, like preppies, which is sort of 4 and 5, the dress-up box, the boys and the girls loved it just as much as each other. Some of those boys would get into the princess dress and put on the jewellery and have so much fun and enjoy it. Now, that doesn't mean they're transgender. That just means they enjoy feeling nice, the silks and swishy of a skirt, just like a young girl would.
It's play, isn't it?
That's okay.
It's play. Yeah, no, absolutely right. Now,
it's okay.
Now, one of your books is Be the Difference.
Yes.
And in it, you talk about some of the ideas kids can use to just engender positive change, to create positive change. Can you just share a few of those ideas with us?
Well, look, that book came from, I was walking on the beach with my, a couple of years ago. I was listening to a song. I don't know if you know Missy Higgins, but she's a singer here in Australia, and she was singing her song called The Difference. We can all make a difference in small ways. And I started chatting to this lady, and we started talking about her partner and just on the beach, and I was talking a little bit about gender and stuff with her, and she's like, I've never thought that before, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to say that to my husband, and no, and I thought, just that little conversation made a difference. It was only a small thing, but it did make a difference. So then I thought, okay, how can kids are very anxious right now. They're worried about climate change. They're worried about so many different things, and they want to do something. So how can we help kids just in small ways make a difference? So I decided that the 3 areas of the book, so there's 40 plus ideas in there to use for families or schools, and they cover 3 sections. So empathy and kindness is first. The second is talking about gender and racial equality, and the third is how we can care for and love for the environment. Okay. So there's 40 plus ideas. There's some also highlighting other kids who are doing great things. So I'm really proud of that book, and I think it might make a difference if we have our kids reading that.
And what ideas specifically did you have for kids to use around empathy and kindness?
Okay, so let's see, basically collecting old clothes that they might have and giving them to a homeless shelter, raising money for something that they feel strongly about, like the bushfire animals. Kids can get together and have a fundraiser for that. Having an empathy classroom where they all work out their rules that they're going to use in their classroom and live by those rules. Different things like that.
Amazing. And what you're talking about here, Jayneen, is some it's things that aren't typically taught in school, right? So particularly as kids get older, so they may learn English or maths or science or art and design, but how important do you think it is for softer skills, for these human skills to be taught?
It's everything, isn't it? It's everything.
I agree.
It's why we find ourselves in wars. It's why we find ourselves in, all sorts of different conflicts, even down at the pub.
Yeah.
It's so important how to have social and emotional intelligence.
Firstly, I don't get in conflicts in the pub, but you speak for yourself. But secondly, do you think the reason? Part of the reason we don't teach it is because it isn't easily measured. How do you define success? So that was JD. She's a bit awesome, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And she was in Australia, I think, at the time of the interview. So potentially she might have been our longest distance interviewee ever.
Maybe.
And we've had a few across the world, so it'd be interesting to see whether that's the case.
I think we've had Singapore.
We've had Singapore, yeah, that is true. I've got the feeling Australia might top it though, but
Australia's pretty far.
yeah, we'll say we've never had anybody from New Zealand though, so that might be a step. Shall we move on to the next stage of the show?
Sure. Tis the end. I got that right. It is the end.
It is the
end.
Tis the end, I think, of another podcast. And last week's question of the podcast was, what are the things that you'd wished you'd known before? The stuff that you wished you'd figured out sooner. And we've got some amazing answers / life advice. So
Nice.
let's talk about that. It's number 2 on there, Charlotte.
Sam Chilton said, friendship is quality over quantity.
Yeah, I agree with that. Less friends, but really deeper relationships is always better.
David Forsdyke said, happiness is found in people, not in things.
What do you think of that?
That's true.
Okay.
Cassie Dames, oh mum, said,
Oh, mum! All mums written in.
failure is not always a bad thing as long as we learn from it. I feel like that one is aimed at me.
I don't think it was aimed at you, but I love the way you reacted when you just went, you went from professional podcaster mode where you went, Cassie Dames, oh, mum. Said, have you ever seen a Carry On film?
No.
Oh, mum. And I love that advice. Failure is not always a bad thing as long as we learn from it. I absolutely love.
I don't know how to say
Phil
that.
Fitzgibbon said, trying to please others doesn't always please you, and it's okay not to please others and walk your own path.
Johnny Piper said, do a job you're passionate about rather than one that pays best. Justin Gaffney said that when I was young and had hair, I was cute and could have had much more fun of an adult nature if I had more confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah, Justin, you should have. You
should have gone wild.
You should have gone wild, didn't you? Why was my first reaction when you said you should have gone wild? Was exactly what you said. Wild in the aisles. Clearly, I need to get out more. Definitely this year. And that, my friends, is another episode of the Kindness Project.
Woo!
Would you like to finish the show
Bye.
with a song?
No.
Okay. Goodbye, my friends, and we'll see you next week.